and character. Staying the course in the increasingly swirling waters of the current international system has become quite an endeavor, including for organizations like ours, whose DNA is about preserving international law-based order through democracy, human rights, and rule of law. We had prepared our presidency to navigate through rather safe waters, but when we stepped in, we had to answer the call of the time. As Robert Frost said, when we have seen that two roads diverged in a wood and we decided to take the one less traveled, that has made all the difference. We have embraced a hot topic which was not on our presidency's map, migration. But we understood its importance not only for a part of the member states, but also the need to set it from the very beginning in the right framework and give it the proper direction. And we have taken an even less traveled path when it comes to concerns over FIMI. We believe that the declaration and the decisions that we adopted today on these important topics will be not only the beginning of a new path for the Council of Europe, but also make it more resilient in defending core values and will make it a real difference in terms of tangible changes for our democratic societies. The Committee of Ministers Presidency of the Republic of Moldova was not only about the process, but also about the outcomes. With more than 40 events that we have organized, we have not only built on the existing process, but also steered reflections and made steps towards new achievements. The informal conference on migration, the International Conference on the Execution of European Court's judgments, the Diplomatic Conference on Claims Commission in The Hague, the High-Level Conference on the Social Charter, the High-Level Conference on Media Literacy and Disinformation, the Conference on Journalistic Safety and Quality Journalism, today's decision on the Special Tribunal on Ukraine, to name just a few, have marked our presidency and represent milestones for further work to be carried out by the Council of Europe. Our presidency was about values. And what are values without people and institutions? We are happy to give pride to our local authorities, human rights defenders and ombudspersons, youth, journalists, law enforcement, courts, independent regulatory bodies, and civil society. We have carried our presidency with honor and great sense of responsibility. The priorities we have chosen to highlight were both relevance for our country's expertise in securing democracy and rule of law, and for the Council of Europe as a whole. And we have sought to bring all of our experience, knowledge, and capabilities to further strengthen the organization and equip it with new tools to withstand the course while navigating uncharted roads of the current international system. We have also carried our presidency with a firm belief in the importance of multilateralism and with a conviction that its preservation requires not only unwavering commitment to the values of our organization, but also the ambition and courage to explore new paths and innovative approaches in designing tools adapted to the current challenges in order to ensure safeguarding it. The journey of the Moldovan presidency of the Committee of Ministers is now coming to an end. Before handing over to my dear Moldovan colleague, I would like to once again express my sincere gratitude to all delegations for their constructive approach and valuable support during our presidency. I would like to thank the Secretary General, as well as the representatives of the Council of Europe institutions present here today, for the spirit of cooperation they have shown through our presidency. My sincere appreciation also goes to the Council of Europe Secretariat for the excellent assistance it has given us. Finally, I would like to express my thanks to Ambassador Kuzba and the Permanent Representative of Moldova in Strasbourg, to colleagues at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and to all national authorities whose dedicated efforts contributed to bringing our presidency to its fruitful conclusion. And now I will be inviting our Moldovan colleague, Isabel.
Excellences,
Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it's with a deep sense of responsibility that the Principality of Monaco is poised to take over for the first time in its history the presidency of the Committee of Ministers of the Council of Europe. I'd like to pass on my most sincere thanks to the outgoing presidency for the quality of its commitment, for its constructive steering of the work, and for the spirit of dialogue and unity that's guided throughout the action of the Committee of Ministers during the past 6 months. Ever since its joining of the Council of Europe in 2004, Monaco has unceasingly reaffirmed its attachment to the values that underpin our organization. The Principality is convinced that defending human rights, democracy, and the rule of law represent both a legal requirement and also a key condition for stability and peace on our continent. In an international environment marked by growing instability, no state is immune to the contemporary crises which are showing the interdependence of our societies. The primacy of law and respecting international law are not abstract principles. They are the prerequisites for trust between states and the credibility of our joint actions. The European continent is going through a very difficult and trying period, increasing fragility seen in the workings of our democracies, and this is putting our collective cohesion to the test. Faced with these challenges, our responsibility is to preserve unity and European integrity. Against this backdrop, the Council of Europe needs to continue to show that it has a very relevant role to play. Its strength lies in its system of conventions, in the authority of the European Court of Human Rights, and in the credibility of its monitoring mechanisms. It especially lies in our joint capability to ensure these instruments continue to live. Monaco will carry out its presidency around the following vision, which structures all its priorities. Protecting everyone through an efficient organization to respond to contemporary challenges. This vision involves, first of all, guaranteeing the effectiveness of rights, in particular for the most vulnerable people. With this in mind, combating violence, especially violence against women and children, means that we have to ensure that all legal commitments signed up to are fully honoured, especially with regard to the Istanbul and Lanzarote Conventions. It also means that answers should be appropriate and given to the changes in our societies. The increasing impact of the digital world, young people being exposed to information risk, the challenges of mental health, or even radicalization phenomena, all this requires clear-headed and structured action. We think it's very important to associate young people in these discussions so we can better respond to the realities that they're experiencing. It also calls us to recognize the role played by sport as a vehicle for cohesion and inclusion. We can only be fully fulfilled if we can guarantee a safe and thriving environment for children and young people. This having been said, the protection of rights can only be effective if we have an organization which is capable to act, which draws on a regular and constructive dialogue, and that also applies its standards. The system of the European Convention of Human Rights and the full, rapid and effective execution of the judgments handed by the European Court of Human Rights remained, with this in mind, a requirement which is inextricably tied to the credibility of our joint actions. More broadly speaking, the efficiency of our organization hinges on its ability to translate principles into concrete measures, to structure cooperation between member states, and to mobilize different parties around common objectives. It's subject to this condition that we will be able to respond to the contemporary challenges. They call for coherent and coordinated answers, combating organized crime, terrorism, and cybercrime forces us to strengthen international cooperation and to have at hand appropriate legal instruments. At the same time, the war in Ukraine reminds us of one fundamental requirement, There can be no lasting peace if there is no justice and there is no accountability. Support for victims and for accountability mechanisms is of huge importance and is a joint priority. Last of all, the phenomena concerning disinformation are jeopardizing the workings of our very democracies. Answering this means that we need to strengthen the resilience of our societies, especially through education, protecting the integrity of information, and supporting the freedom of expression. Ladies and gentlemen, the Monegasque presidency will be characterized by a both demanding and pragmatic approach, faithful to the values of the Council of Europe and firmly focused on their concrete implementation. Safeguarding values that unite us should never be taken for granted. It hinges on constant vigilance on the strength of law and on our capacity to act together. It is in this spirit that the Principality of Monaco is committing today to serve the Council of Europe and our joint ambitions. That is, to have a Europe that is faithful to its principles, that is resilient in the face of crises, and that is fully able to respond to the challenges of our time. Thank you very much indeed.
Mesdames et messieurs, nous passons maintenant au point 10, le dernier point de notre ordre du jour.
Move now on to point number 10, the last agenda point. So it will be on the 10th of November of 2026 that the meeting will take place. And I'd like to thank you very much. It will be the 12th of May on 2027 when we'll have our meeting in order to pass on the presidency to Montenegro. I'd like to thank you very much. And at this point, I would like to tell you all thank you very much. And this 135th session of the Committee of Ministers stands adjourned. Thank you very much.